Hey, Daydreamer, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like you work and work and work, and when it comes time to pay yourself to cover your bills, you stop and think, where did all the money go? If you're anything like me, this isn't just an occasional thought, it's a weekly, sometimes daily internal dialogue. And in 2023, I set the huge goal of making $100,000 in revenue, and I did that. And I set the same goal for 2024. And at the time I was writing this, it was October and I've already passed that mark. And so why does my bank account not reflect all that hard work? Does this sound familiar? If so, you're going to love today's episode. This is the start of a 5-part series I'm going to be doing where I'm going to dive deep into how I am actually planning to make money in my business this year. And not just on paper, not just in gross revenue, but in a way that I'm actually able to pay myself, right? And so, as a part of this series, I'm committing to a year-long experiment where I'm going to follow the profit first framework to manage my business finances. And I'll leave a link to that down below if you're interested in checking it out. Every quarter, I'll update you on my journey, what's working, what's challenging, and how this method is helping me run a more profitable business. So, welcome to part 1, the plan. Welcome, Daydreamer. This is the Living Your Daydream podcast, and in this show, we quest together through seasons of life and business. I'm Asher James, a photographer, filmmaker, and creative business mentor, and my hope is that this show helps you settle into a place of peace and comfort in a world that attempts to distract us from what really matters, setting a healthy foundation for us to take big action on our goals and to achieve the life we've always dreamed of. As you listen, I invite you to join in on conversations with me that I have with industry friends, reflect on new ideas and inspirations, and apply this knowledge to design a life that I and you have always dreamed of. This is the Living Your Daydream podcast. I want to start by being real with you about my journey with money in business, because trust me, I didn't always have it figured out. And obviously, I still don't. So let's look at the startup years, which is what I'm kind of coining the last 3 years that I've had in business. I feel like I'm at a transitional point now. So when I first started my business, the money was an afterthought. I was more focused on getting more clients, booking gigs, and doing more of the work that I loved and that I wanted to be doing. Then the next phase of this was going full time. And once I took the leap to quit my job, I started making more money. But I also started spending more, right? And I didn't have a system in place for managing it and tracking that. So 2 years in, I realized that something had to change. And so after 2 years of being full-time in my business, 2023 and 2024, we're now going into 2025, I realized that having nothing to show for all my hard work was killing me. I was making money, but I wasn't actually keeping any of it. And so that's when I knew that something had to change. So enter the Profit First framework. Profit First is a financial management system that flips the traditional business model on its head. And instead of the usual revenue minus expenses equals profit, it operates on this formula, which is revenue minus profit equals expenses. And so this system ensures that you get paid first and not last. And here's how it works. You're going to create a bunch of different accounts with your bank, your credit union, whatever. And so I went and I did this, and they were able to do it for no additional costs. So the first one I set up was my operating expenses account. And this is going to be 30% of my net revenue. So the amount of money that comes in. This is going to cover software, gear, subscriptions, rent, all of the essentials that keep the business afloat and running. The next one is the owner's compensation, which I have set to be 50%. This is the paycheck. This is the money that actually supports you and pays you, right? Now, we'll see if I actually stick to that 50% over the course of the year. That's the goal. But again, this is all an experiment, so I'll see what that looks like. Taxes. So you want to set aside about 30 to 35%, depending upon how much you make. So if I'm paying myself 50% of my revenue, I want to set aside 15% of my revenue. So I'm going to set that aside for taxes so that when the time comes, there's no surprises, because there has been so far, and it's not been fun. And then the other account that I opened is the profit account. And this is where 5% of the net revenue is going to go. This is going to be extra money that builds up as a financial cushion, and it's going to reward me for running a successful business. And so this breakdown ensures that your business isn't just making money, but it's also financially secure. Hey, Daydreamer. I just want to take a quick second to say how pumped I am that you're here and listening to the show. I created Living Your Daydream to share the biggest, mindset shifts, strategies, and insights that I've learned about running a creative business. And my goal is to help as many people, just like you, break out of the cycle of just getting by and actually thrive in business. And this is something I'm working on this year as well. So if you love what you're hearing, one of the best ways to support the show is to leave a review. It takes less than a minute, but it seriously helps tell Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube to show this podcast to other people and to help it grow, right? So if you can, go ahead, head down to the show notes once you park the car, or hit pause on this episode quick and do that if you're at your desk at work. Click the link, drop a review. 5 stars would be amazing. If you're on Apple, you can leave an actual written review too. Tell me what you think. And thank you so much. Now, okay, let's dive back in. So chapter 3 is my plan and projections for this year. Now that I've covered the why, I want to talk about the how, right? So if I base next year off of my past 2 years, but allow for some growth, here's what I expect. I expect 2025's gross revenue to be around $130,000. My operating expenses then would be about $39,000. The amount that I would pay myself in salary would be about $65,000. The amount that I would save for taxes would be $19,500. And then the amount that I have in my profit account would be $6,500. And these numbers feel much more sustainable and intentional than what I've done in the past, which is almost having like 80 to 90% of my revenue go all to expenses, So instead of wondering where all my money went, I am excited to have some clear allocations to ensure that I'm not just making money, but I'm actually keeping it, right? So you've made it to the end of this episode. I'm guessing that you're loving the conversation, and I'm grateful that you're here. And before you go, I want to ask a small favor, super, super quick. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to take a minute to leave a review or comment on it down below if you're on YouTube. And please share this with a friend. Maybe share it on social media, send it to someone directly. It's super easy. Head down to the show notes, and there's a link right there where you can drop a review and share it. This is truly going to be one of the only ways to help the show grow, and it means everything to me. So thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to share more of this journey with you, and I will see you right back here in the next one.